decades of working for the Food and Drug Administration Enforcement Division, he worked as a consultant for pharmaceutical and healthcare related organizations. And when it came to retire, he didn't. He dove deep into being involved with various boards and civic organizations, including being elected to the Sarasota City Commission. And he was vice mayor. In 2021, he was awarded the key to the city for his commitment to making the Suncoast a better place to live. Now, if that isn't enough, he's been instrumental in the passage of LGBTQ equality laws on the local and state levels. His work to make this place a better place to live. And he's here with me.
Good morning.
You've just made this place, you've made Suncoast people a better place to be just by being here, Ken.
That's overstating it, I think, but thank you. I appreciate that. I've certainly enjoyed living here. I've been here 31 years now.
Wow. So how's this retirement thing working out for you?
It's keeping me occupied is what it's doing. And I enjoy that. It's very difficult for me to sit still. It's just part of my nature. And thank goodness I've found myself in a place like Sarasota, which invites me to be active. There are lots of things you can do here. Anybody can do.
Absolutely. Anybody with any interests and any degree of capabilities.
Right.
And you, like you said, you've been here 31 years. You've been with your husband, Steve, for
46 years.
46 years.
Right.
You realize in gay years, that's like 200 years being with somebody.
Well, it's been a very successful relationship, and I'm really happy. It's given my life energy. It's given me excitement. It's giving me joy, and I couldn't have asked for more.
Well, and plus you and Steve complement each other. You're a little more verbose, and Steve is a little more laid back, and somehow.
Yes, he's much more intellectually integrated with his issues. He has a doctorate in education, and he was very involved in the Detroit school system while he worked there. With 325,000 students writing standardized tests, scoring them, administering them, scoring them, and interpreting the results. So
wow.
He really likes to dig into numbers. He's good at it.
It seems like in so many relationships, one person is the really smart one, and the other one is the really pretty one.
Oh, come on. Oh, come on, Bob. You're talking about Steve, right? The pretty one?
Maybe. But in addition to your husband, you've got kids and
Right.
grandkids.
Right. I have 3 children, 2 girls and a boy, who are all in their 50s now.
Wow.
And I have 6 grandchildren, and I have 4.5 great-grandchildren. I'm expecting another one in November.
You are a great grandfather.
Right.
How does that feel?
It feels wonderful, and in fact, for the last 3 weeks, I've been spending time with all of them, and it's very satisfying. I really enjoy it, and they like me. That's one of the best things. They like me. They like having me around. So
Your kids or the grandkids or the
all of them. All
They
of them.
all?
Yes, it's wonderful.
So you're kind of the fun grandpa.
I hope so. Especially with my great-grandchildren.
Yeah.
They're all small. They range in age from 1 to 8. And
that's quite a range.
yeah,
8-year
and it's
range.
fun being with them because I can teach.
Yeah.
And I like doing that.
But do they learn?
Yes, they are. They're like sponges. They're very smart, very bright.
I see. So they're like their grandpa Steve in that they're really smart.
Yes.
Even though there's no blood relative.
Right. They take after him.
Where do you get your energy?
Well, my hobby is genealogy, and it's been a very interesting hobby because I've been able to create a family tree of 25,000 people, and what I've learned from the genealogy is that it's not just that our parents give us life. It's all of these hundreds and thousands of generations of people who have left their mark on me through the DNA. And somehow, somewhere, that energy has come to me, and I'm very proud of that.
Who, and you've done research with your ancestors, is there one of your predecessors who you think you can really identify with, like?
Well, I know this sounds like boasting, but there are a number of them. Mary Queen of Scots is one. She's a cousin of mine. She's a second cousin, 15 times removed. But also Robert the Bruce is a direct ancestor of mine. There are a number of kings of Scotland. Malcolm and Duncan, who appear in Shakespeare's Macbeth, are both direct ancestors of mine. In fact, one of the really interesting things that I found is that my ancestors came from Dunfermline, Scotland, which is Sarasota's sister city. And I've been to Dunfermline, and it's full of people that I'm related to.
Do you have any blood relatives here?
In Sarasota?
Yeah.
Yes. In fact, you've interviewed one of them, Alan Brasington. Alan and I sat down and we tried to do his genealogy, and back about 10 generations, we share great-grandparents. And so that's very interesting, since we didn't know each other before we came to Sarasota.
In addition to that, you've been an advocate and very active in the community on a number of fronts. Tell me about one of your passion projects.
Well, let me say just first of all that I have a strong sense of fairness, and I really, when I see unfairness, I have a very difficult time. I have to speak out. And apparently I have a propensity to do that. I don't keep quiet when I see unfairness.
I've always seen you as kind of a shy, reserved kind of.
Please. But I attribute my grandmother to that. My grandmother taught me about the Golden Rule, and I can remember her reciting it to me. And so when I came to Sarasota, well, it goes back to my career with the Food and Drug Administration, because I was there during the period when AIDS became a problem, especially in the gay community. It's not restricted to the gay community, but it appeared first in the gay community. And I was working in the enforcement part of the agency, and I wanted to do something. I didn't know how I could do it, but I kept looking for opportunities to help out. And fortunately, just before I retired, I was head of the Baltimore district of the FDA, which is Maryland, Virginia, West Virginia, and the District of Columbia. And the Merck Company has a plant in Elkton, Virginia, where they manufactured a product called Crixivan. Crixivan was the first protease inhibitor that was effective against AIDS. In fact, it was incredibly effective against AIDS. The president of Merck came to me while they were in the testing phase, the clinical testing phase. They hadn't approval for commercial marketing yet, but he came and he said, "We have done a year's worth of testing, and the results are absolutely incredible. They're showing that there's no disease. You cannot detect the organism after a year. And we want to do one more year, but we want to be in a good position when we're ready to submit our application for approval to the FDA to get it done quickly." So I said, sure, there's a way we can deal with this. We can take some stuff that we used to deal with serially and do it concurrently. At the end of that year, when Merck was ready to submit their approval application, we were done. We were ready, and we were ready to say, hey, they look good. And so it took 29 days to get approval for Crixivan. That was the fastest new drug approval in history in the FDA. And it shows that when you are creative, when you're intellectually creative, you can do things easily and quickly. Mm-hmm. And you can cut red tape, for example, in an area where people didn't think it was possible.
This show isn't about politics or issues, but what you just described, I have to ask you, do you think this could be applied to other areas of government?
Absolutely, absolutely. And in fact, while I was the head of the Baltimore office, I was on a committee in the city of Baltimore called the Private Sector Port Committee for the Port of Baltimore. And our job there was to find ways to cut red tape, to facilitate business in the Port of Baltimore. And we did that.
So what are you currently working on?
Well, I have a public art project celebrating diversity and inclusion that I'm working on. I have a wonderful committee of local experts on public art and the issues of diversity and inclusion. I've been working for 5 years with the city staff and the commission to try and get it approved. We're not there yet. And unfortunately, I think recent legislation at the state level has created an atmosphere of concern and worry about what's possible. And so we're going to have to work through that.
Well, good luck with that.
Thank you. We'll get there.
Yeah. How would you like to be remembered?
Well, as I said a few moments ago, being fair, being honest, being truthful. That was my whole life in a regulatory agency at the federal level. It was always looking for proof and the truth. And that's the way I think, unfortunately.
Were you like that as a kid?
I think so.
As a young man?
I think so because of my grandmother. You know, she didn't beat it into me, but she certainly made it clear that was important.
How so? How did your grandmother
Well, she kept
do that?
repeating it. And if we did something, my two sisters and I, that were unfair, she pointed it out so that what it meant was clear to us. So that's just the way I am.
What do you say to people who go, life isn't fair?
It's what you make it. And my life has been a serendipitous life. And I think it's been that way because I'm always looking for ways to improve my life and enjoy my life and contribute to the community around me. And you can make it fair. You can eliminate unfairness. You can work to stop nonsense. But if you give up and back off and say, well, life's not fair, then it will be. Simple as that.
So true.
Mm-hmm.
Ken, thanks so much for being here. And thank you for the work that you've done and you continue to do. And thank you for joining us and watching. Thank you for your emails and your ideas of guests. Keep those cards and letters coming. Well, maybe not cards and letters, but emails. info@suncoastpeople.com. I'm Robert Tim. Thanks for watching.